The shocking prophecy of Enoch revealed, what will happen when the heavens open up. Few knew what truly happened that night, beneath a cloak of stars that flickered ominously. Enoch, the ancient prophet, stood alone, heart pounding in his chest like a drum of warning. In the stillness of his world, whispers of the unseen drifted in the air. It was said that he walked with God, a relationship unparalleled in the history of man. What secrets did he hold? What mysteries surged through his veins, urging him forward into the abyss of divine revelations? In the ancient land of Canaan, the smell of damp earth mixed with the heavy scent of impending rain. The heavens themselves seemed to tremble. The sun had set, leaving shadows that danced playfully, yet carried an air of foreboding. Enoch felt it in his bones, a rising urgency that pulled him towards the edge of the vast expanse. His mind raced, tormented by visions and prophecies that dripped like molten wax into his thoughts. That he could hear the low murmuring of the villagers, their faces illuminated by flickering fires, unaware of the cosmic weight pressing upon his shoulders. Would they believe him if he spoke of what he had seen? Of the otherworldly beings who descended like lightning, with voices as thunderous as a storm? The words caught in his throat, a lump of fear and awe. What if they turned away, terrified of the truth, shouting lies instead of seeking understanding? Suddenly, the clouds swirled ominously above him. Thunder rumbled. Was this a sign? Was heaven itself angry with mankind? Enoch's chest tightened as he raised his gaze, pleading with the skies to reveal a glimpse of the unknown. He saw flashes of vision perhaps. Angels, bright and terrifying, stood poised between worlds, their eyes filled with sorrow for humankind. Could he carry such a burden? The ground beneath him vibrated. It felt like the very fabric of reality was tearing apart. A breathless silence enveloped him, punctuated only by the quickened beats of his heart. He yearned to understand what lay ahead. Would he be the messenger of humanity's fate, chosen to unveil the long-hidden prophecies of wrath and justice? His trembling hands reached out, as though to grasp the divine revelation before it slipped away. Then came a whisper, just a breath against the chaos, promising immense change. Enoch's thoughts spiraled, a whirlwind of doubt and purpose. Could he be the one? The shadows loomed larger, as if they had heard the question too, and replied with an echo of secrets long buried. But before he could fully comprehend, before he could scream his thoughts into the night, revelations would align like stars once more. Or, would they explode into darkness? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The air crackled with anticipation as Enoch stood transfixed, his heart heavy with the weight of the celestial message that seemed to hover just out of reach. With his gaze fixed upon the writhing clouds above, he felt a profound silence settle around him, a silence that spoke louder than thunderous proclamations. It was as if all creation held its breath, waiting for the unfolding of events that only he could witness. Enoch recalled the words whispered by the angels, foretelling of a time when the heavens would indeed open, spilling out revelations that could shake the very foundations of the earth. He wondered, with a mixture of dread and curiosity, what those revelations would entail. Were they messages of enlightenment or echoes of despair? Could they steer mankind into light, or would they cast them deeper into shadow? Suddenly, a blinding brightness pierced the darkness, illuminating the landscape in hues of gold and silver. Enoch squinted, shielding his eyes, as he sensed a presence approaching. The light grew nearer, until it formed into a figure, radiant and ethereal, standing before him with an aura of divine authority. Enoch felt both fear and a strange sense of familiarity with this being. Could it be an angel of the Lord sent to guide him, to bear witness to the truth hidden through the ages? Enoch, the figure spoke, each word resonating like a bell tolling in the stillness. Your heart seeks understanding, and your spirit yearns to know. But the path before you does not grant you knowledge without sacrifice. What you seek comes with a burden." With those words, Enoch felt the mantle of prophecy settle upon his shoulders, heavy yet exhilarating. "I am ready," he uttered, perhaps more boldly than he felt. "What must I do? What must I know?" The figure gestured towards the heavens. "The veils between realms are thin, and you shall witness the truths long hidden. The fate of humanity is woven into the stars, their patterns tell of grace and judgment alike. Yet know that not all truths are meant for the ears of mortals." As the words hung in the air, Enoch pondered their meaning. He felt an urge to protest the restrictions. Was not the truth a gift to be shared? But just as this thought formed, the figure extended a hand. A shimmering scroll appeared, unfurling in the air amid sparks of light, revealing inscribed words that glimmered with the intensity of 1,000 suns. "Behold the beginning of the revelations. Keep close your faith, for fear may arise as shadows lengthen." The figure's voice became softer. "Beware, for the knowledge will reveal not just the road ahead for mankind, but also reveal their heart's treasures and terrors alike." As the scroll danced in the air, entranced by the burning words, Enoch felt a swell of emotion threaten to overcome him. The call to bear witness to this knowledge thrust him into the whirlwind of responsibility that lay ahead. This was not merely about foretelling events, it was about understanding the very essence of humanity, of what bound them to the divine and what might drive them to despair. Yet with each revelation came the specter of choice. The choices of the people weighed heavily upon him, and a question loomed larger than himself. If Enoch judged, who would stand with him, and who would be cast aside in darkness? What sorrowful truths would he have to bear, and could his resolve withstand the revelations that would forever alter the lives of those he loved? As the scroll began to collapse back into nothingness, a pulse of energy surged toward him, igniting his spirit. What secrets remained to be unveiled, and how would they shape the hearts of those who heard them? Would he walk the path of a mere prophet, or would he become a vessel for the light, perfect yet flawed, striving to carry the weight of divine truths into an unforgiving world? He stood at the precipice of understanding, but what would the cost of that understanding be? As the blinding light receded, Enoch's heartbeat echoed in his ears, resonating with a new rhythm, one filled with both fear and purpose. The figure that had delivered the scroll stood now like a sentinel against the fading luminescence, observing him with an inscrutable gaze. Enoch, still reeling from the unearthly encounter, felt the weight of the scroll's message echoing in his mind, pushing him toward an uncomfortable awareness of the power he had been entrusted with. He took a cautious step forward, drawn by an unquenchable thirst for knowledge and understanding. "Tell me," he implored, his voice steady despite the tremors of uncertainty that simmered in his chest. "What must I reveal? What is my role in this unfolding truth?" The radiant figure regarded him with an intensity that conveyed both affection and admonition. "Enoch, the tapestry of existence is not solely of light or shadow, it weaves together the choices of the heart. You will witness visions that transcend temporal understanding, but you must understand how deeply connected all are to the divine purpose. Your revelations will stir and awaken, ignite and challenge." He could feel an urgency in the air, a sense of time flowing like a river, one that would not wait for those unprepared to embrace its current. "But there will be suffering. There will be choices made in darkness," Enoch said, grappling with the implications. "Can I change those paths, or merely bear witness?" "Your silence would be a choice itself," the figure replied, a somber note threading through its ethereal tone. "Understanding brings responsibility, response is power. But even in power, there is a weight not easily borne. You shall see what the fate of mankind may become, yet, remember, if grace can lead to redemption, despair may find its echoes in stubborn hearts." Enoch's gaze dropped to the ground, where the grass seemed to vibrate with anticipation under his feet. The scroll had hinted at hidden hearts, but what truths lay beneath the surface? How would he fathom the souls of men when he himself was but a humble mortal, flawed and hesitant? The thought clung to him like a shadow, as he now sought a glimmer of direction in the midst of uncertainty. Can one man's voice truly change hearts? He wondered aloud, the doubt slipping from his lips before he fully grasped it. What if I am met with disbelief? What if the truth shatters instead of mends? With a flourish, the figure raised its hand, and suddenly, the air shimmered once more. Paintings of human lives began to materialize around Enoch. Joy and sorrow intermingled within the scenes, woven into the very fabric of creation. He saw families gathering in laughter, lovers sharing glimpses into each other's souls, and yet just beyond, he glimpsed despair creeping into shadows, guilt, betrayal, and anguish shrouded in veils of darkness. It is not yours to dictate the hearts of others, Enoch. Rather, you shall offer the light. Let it be a beacon, a mirror reflecting the depths of truth wrapped in compassion. The voice held a soothing quality, like the whisper of wind through trees, as though it could calm the tempests raging inside him. But how? He whispered, feeling the weight of his mortality press upon him. How can I possibly hold such truths without succumbing to despair myself? As if sensing his turmoil, the figure's countenance softened. You will not walk this path alone. The light you carry ignites others, mirrors brightening through your weakness. Know this, to understand the truth is to understand God's eternal love, which permeates even the darkest moments. Each choice made, no matter how grave, can lead to redemption. In your heart lies the power to awaken in others what they may not yet see. With those words, the myriad lives surrounding him began to shimmer out of focus, melding together into a constellation that mirrored the stars above. Enoch felt an unshakable resolve begin to rise within him, a combined sense of duty and compassion. Yet even as he grasped onto this newfound courage, questions fluttered through his mind like errant leaves in an autumn breeze. What would his voice carry to the hearts that had turned cold? Would he find the language to reach the weary and burdened? As he stood on the precipice of revelation, he realized that while the light may guide him forth, the shadows would always linger, waiting for their chance to resist. And so, with a heart both heavy and hopeful, Enoch pondered, what would it take for a heart, once hardened, to soften in the presence of undeniable truth? Would love, in its purest form, be enough to conquer what hate had sown? The silence that followed Enoch's musings was thick, pregnant with possibilities yet unspoken. As he lingered at the threshold of his newfound calling, the atmosphere seemed to thrum with anticipation, pulsing like the very heartbeat of creation. The figure, luminous and wise, broke the stillness, reminding him of the gravity of the mission ahead. Remember, Enoch, the light you bear invites questions even as it answers them. It calls for truth in a world that flinches beneath its weight. With a deep breath, Enoch took a step forward, drawn by instinct and hope, yet still wary of the burdens he was to carry. The path ahead was murky, a tapestry of fate still being woven, yet he felt something awaken within him, a sense of purpose that had been dormant for so long. What must I say to the people? He inquired, sensing the importance of the message lurking within the scroll. Speak of the intersections between love and compassion, the figure replied, its voice merging with the faint rustling of leaves. Show them that every life is a story, each heart a realm unto itself, tethered to the divine. Give them courage to confront their fears, for only then can the shadows dissipate. At once, Enoch was swept into a vision, one that transcended time and space as it enveloped him like a mantle. He found himself in a bustling market, where laughter mingled with cries of barter. Faces blurred into a tapestry of emotions. Discontent marked the brow of a man trading his wares, a grieving woman wept quietly amidst the crowd, and children played carelessly, unaware of the burdens carried by their elders. Enoch sensed their individual stories like strings vibrating against one another, creating a sorrowful symphony underscored by the yearning for joy. Look closer, the figure urged, and as Enoch's gaze deepened, he witnessed moments of tenderness and anguish intertwining. The grieving woman reached out, her touch connecting her with a child who offered her a flowery note of hope amidst the shards of her sorrow. In another corner, he beheld the merchant, his furrowed brow softening as he handed an extra piece of bread to a starving stranger. Each act of kindness whispered silently of the divine, rippling through lives like waves across a tranquil pond. Can our choices shift the destiny of another? Enoch pondered, momentarily ensnared by the intricate dance of interconnection between souls. Or are we merely cogs in a grand design, unable to alter the wills of others? The heart of man is a landscape of choice, the figure replied, its voice steady like the ground beneath Enoch's feet. Every act resonates far beyond the moment it occurs. Love can be the key that unlocks a hardened heart, while indifference may seal it shut forever. Hold firm to the truth you have been given, and let it spark the flame in those who may have resigned themselves to shadows. With that, Enoch found himself once again alone, the vision fading like a wisp of smoke, yet the realization remained carried within him not just a message, but a growing responsibility. How could he communicate this truth to a world so often bathed in skepticism? He could not wave a wand to transform hearts, but could instead nurture the flickers of compassion dwelling within them. As he returned to himself, standing upon the verdant earth bathed in twilight, he felt the scroll's weight shift once more, reminding him of the choice he was yet to make. Would he be the herald of hope that pierced through hopelessness, heralding a deeper understanding of love? And yet, as he considered this daunting task, new doubts wove through his mind like shadows creeping across the ground. How do you speak of love without being met with resistance? What if, with every revelation, the hearts he sought to inspire recoiled further into fear? Enduring, he stared towards the horizon, contemplating the unknown that lay ahead. What will it take to find the courage to speak when his voice may be drowned out by the clamor of doubt, and how can he kindle light in hearts hidden behind walls they built themselves? As dawn broke over the land, Enoch felt the fresh breath of morning weaving through the air, embellished with the promises of a new day. The sun, a golden chalice pouring light over the darkened corners of night, reminded him of the task that awaited him. He stood at the precipice of his journey, aware that each step would unfurl before him the teachings he carried within, a calling painted in hues of hope and fear. With each passing moment, the apprehensions that had lingered in his mind slowly morphed into echoes of a deeper contemplation. He ventured towards the village where the people bustled with their morning routines. The anticipation of his message played like a quiet melody in his heart, each note resonating with the whispers of understanding he had gleaned from his encounter. Enoch settled himself on a low stone by the well, a familiar hub of gathering for both laughter and sorrow. As the village began to pulse with life, he observed how the morning light caught the faces around him. There, amidst the mundane, a spark of the divine flickered, as if the very shadows of doubt dissolved into the clarity of day. His practiced words seemed to dance on the verge of his lips, but uncertainty restrained him. What if the revelation he bore could be met with skepticism? Enoch recalled the visions of the market, the interconnected tales of despair softening into kindness, and wondered if he could truly foster such connections in his own community. Tentatively, Enoch called out to a group of villagers gathered nearby. "Friends, I have journeyed through the silence and returned with a message." He began, his voice steadier than his heart felt. The villagers turned to him, curiosity mingling with wariness. That we live in an age of shadows, where love often flickers dimly against the tempest of life, he continued, propelling himself forward with conviction. Can we not choose to embrace compassion, not only for ourselves but for one another? In doing so, we may ignite a fire that banishes the darkness. As the words spilled forth, he looked into their eyes. In some, he found nourishment for his spirit, a glimmer of hope reflected back, but in others, a veil of resistance clouded their gaze. The elder of the group, a figure both revered and feared, stepped forward, skepticism written upon his brow. "You speak of love as if it were the balm for every wound," the elder challenged. "But what of our struggles? What of the injustice that rends the fabric of our lives? Can mere kindness act as the salve for our deepest pains?" Enoch felt the weight of the elder's words like a stone dropped into the depths of his own understanding. This was the very crux of his mission. Could love truly be a catalyst for change in a world rife with suffering? "Love does not dismiss our struggles," Enoch replied gently, "but rather weaves through them, drawing us closer to one another. It enables us to confront our fears, to hold one another in the face of adversity, granting us the courage to overcome." The collective murmurs of the villagers surrounded him like a tempest, a mixture of agreement and dissent swirling through the crowd. Some whispered among themselves, their hearts hungry for the light he proposed, while others hardened their resolve, clinging tightly to their entrenched fears. Enoch felt the shift in the air, an almost palpable tension. Here lay the dichotomy of existence, the delicate balance between hope and despair, light and shadow. How could one man's fervent desire for a world transformed by love contend against all the doubts and pain embedded in the hearts of others? As the elder maintained his penetrating gaze, Enoch understood that this interaction marked a pivotal point in his journey. He needed more than eloquence, required a shared experience that could unite them, a demonstration of the very love he preached. What if love is more than a word? Enoch proposed, willing to open himself further. Let us cultivate it together. I invite you, my friends, to share not just in my words, but in the stories of our struggles and triumphs. Let the tapestry of our lives be woven with threads of compassion, for it is in understanding we find the power to heal. The villagers regarded him with apprehension, but a flicker of intrigue ignited within them. If they shared their burdens, could they discover pathways toward healing and connection? As silence absorbed Enoch's proposition, he felt the pulse of possibility wrapping around them. What stories were they ready to unveil? What fears would surface, and would they find strength in vulnerability? The meeting of love's challenge and the acceptance of their pain lingered like a ripe fruit, waiting for the touch of willingness to bear life. Enoch's heart raced with anticipation and uncertainty. Had he planted a seed of connection, or merely teased the waters of doubt? In this moment of suspended breaths, he pondered, how do we begin to foster a culture of love when fear tightly grips the very heart of our community? In the thickening silence, as the villagers absorbed Enoch's offer of shared stories, an unseen tension danced in the air, a promise of transformations yet to unfold. Enoch's heart thudded unsteadily within his chest, a rhythmic echo of both fear and anticipation. For a fleeting moment, the world beyond the well seemed to dim, the very essence of the village felt suspended, as if the heavens themselves were holding their breath. It was then that a child, a young girl of perhaps 7 summers, stepped forward. Her wide, innocent eyes were pools of unfiltered emotion. I will share, she said, her voice tinged with both courage and the tremor of uncertainty. The heavy weight of expectation compelled others to listen, their collective breaths forming a quiet chorus of hope and apprehension. Last winter, our goats were taken by the wolves, she began, her small hands wringing the hem of her dress. I was so afraid. I stayed up all night beside our fire, clutching my mother's blanket. I thought I was alone. But then, I heard someone outside. It was my father, standing firm against the night. He whistled a tune, a song of courage and warmth, and I felt his love break through the cold. She paused, her gaze lingering on the faces surrounding her. Love is like a fire. It can keep you warm when the world is dark. As her words fell like leaves swirling in the wind, an elderly woman stepped forward, her eyes sparkling with tears. You bring light, my dear, she said, her voice quivering with age. My heart has been heavy with the loss of my son. I carry his absence like a stone on my back. But I hear your father's song in your words. Perhaps love can carry us all in these dark times. Enoch felt the hope blooming in the space between them, a fragile yet unyielding thread weaving the villagers together. The elder stood silent, his skepticism slowly shifting under the warmth of the stories unfolding, but the shadows of doubt persisted like clouds threatening a looming storm. Do not let this moment cloud your thought, little girl, he cautioned gently, his voice heavy with the years of his harsh experiences. Love is powerful, yes. But in our struggles, it often feels like a distant echo, a luxury we cannot afford. Perhaps you are correct, Enoch interjected, his voice rising slightly with urgency, wary of the elder's intent to withdraw. But what if each story shared, no matter how small, is a light that gains strength when combined? Can we not set our burdens down, even for a moment, and recognize that in vulnerability, we are never truly alone? The villagers exchanged glances, caught in the delicate push and pull of hope and fear. A fisherman, broad-shouldered and sun-kissed from working the tides, stood beside an artisan, a woman whose hands were roughened by carving beauty from the wood. He shook his head, and what of the injustice we suffer, Enoch? What of those who crawl through the mire, yearning for justice rather than love? How can we confront the shadows that overtake our livelihood? At that moment, Enoch recognized that a deeper revelation bubbled beneath the surface. While love indeed held the potential to heal, fraught truths also lay in the hearts of his brothers and sisters. Would the village, engulfed in the weight of their collective burdens, embrace both love and the undeniable reality of their struggles? Turning to the fisherman, Enoch raised his hand in a gesture of openness. Justice and love are not enemies but companions on this arduous journey. Perhaps we must first share our truths, face the darkness, before we can build the bridge of compassion strong enough to carry us through. the villagers stood in contemplation, a silent torrent of emotions swirling within them. Enoch searched their faces, seeking that flicker of understanding once more. Here was a moment ripe not only for connection but for the dawning realization of the stories that had long been hidden in the shadows. What other tales of joy, sorrow, and triumph would emerge if they dared to speak? But a pressing question lingered in Enoch's heart: would they be willing to embrace both love and the tangled thorns of their realities, fearlessly weaving their stories into the fabric of community, and thus laying the groundwork for an enduring love capable of transforming the deepest struggles? As the sun began its slow descent, splashing hues of orange and violet across the horizon, the air thickened with anticipation. Enoch felt Ida weight both heavy and liberating, as if something profound was about to be unveiled in this moment of gathered souls. The child's declaration of love seemed to echo in the hearts of the villagers, yet the elder's words hung in the air like autumn leaves not quite ready to fall, each one steeped in gravity and truth. In the stillness, the fisherman clasped his hands, a sinewy testament to the toil of seasons at sea. "Enoch," he said slowly, "to speak of love is to dance on a razor's edge. It is the lullaby of our spirits, yet our empty nets sing songs of hunger. What if love, in this dark hour, leads to complacency? How do we cultivate compassion when we are worn thin?" His words struck Enoch deeply, resonating with a sadness that felt universal among the villagers before him. "There are shadows in our lives that we must acknowledge," he responded, striving to project a warmth that could fill the room between them. "But perhaps this is the very space where love grows strongest amidst our yearning and pain. It is a melody woven from both joy and sorrow, creating a rich tapestry that grounds us in our humanity. Would you not share your own truths?" The fisherman nodded, a flicker of understanding lighting his eyes. As he exhaled, a ripple of courage washed through the crowd. "Last summer," he began, "I caught nothing for weeks. My family worried day and night, and in that darkness, I found myself set adrift, questioning my worth, my purpose. It felt as if I were lost beyond the horizon, where the sun and sea melt into one. But then, my youngest son weighed anchor by my side. He reminded me of the skies brimming with stars. Even when the nets are empty," he said, "the stars are always there, guiding us home." Cherishing those words reignited my spirit. A swell of murmured responses circled the gathering, the tapestry continuing to weave itself tighter, each thread glimmering with shared vulnerability. Enoch felt the flickering foundation beneath their feet shift ever so slightly, yet the uncertainties loomed like clouds parting before a new dawn. A woman stepped forth, her hands still dusty from laboring in her garden. "And what of my daughter?" she spoke gently, a wistfulness coloring her tone. "When the sickness took her from me, I fumbled between despair and hopelessness. Yet I discovered her laughter still echoed within me, dense and sweet, reminding me that every flower bends in the wind, yet still blooms in defiance. Love, it seems, never truly departs. It transforms." Enoch marveled at how each heart unveiled its story draped in sacred fabric. As they spoke, the night edged closer, and the stars began to blink awake above them. Each tale, infused with struggle yet incarnate with resilience, kindled something electric in the crowd. This was not merely a sharing of stories, it was a communion of souls seeking light amidst shadow. As the hour grew late, the elder shifted his weight, his gaze dancing between the flickering flames of the nearby fire and the heavens above. "Perhaps these stories indeed shape us more than the burdens we carry," he conceded, his tone softer as the barriers of doubt chipped away ever so slightly. "But is there something greater at play? An unseen hand guiding our collective path?" The sudden question brought a sharp stillness, as if the air itself had folded into the silence. Enoch turned his gaze upwards, following the elder's lead. The stars twinkled with a promise yet untold, and a shiver of hope threaded through him. What awaited them in the darkness beyond even their stories was a mystery yearning to unfold. Is it possible, Enoch pondered aloud, that within our shared narratives lies a deeper prophecy, a calling yet to be recognized? What if the secrets of love and justice are intrinsically woven into the fabric of this community, promising transformation not through avoidance of pain, but by embracing it fully? With his heart echoing the weight of these questions, the gathering remained still, each soul contemplating the vast unknown. What message might the heavens impart to a community brave enough to step into their collective truth? And would they dare to follow where their stories might lead them, into the very heart of the mystery? As the moonlight bathed the gathered souls in its silver glow, Enoch sensed a shift in the atmosphere, as if the very fabric of the night had drawn closer, wrapping the space around them in an embrace of silence. The flames flickered, casting playful shadows on the stories etched onto the villagers' faces, illuminating their combined strength and frailty alike. With each breath, he could feel the energy of their shared vulnerability weaving even tighter a tapestry almost palpable in its essence. Suddenly, a whisper coursed through the air, barely audible yet unmistakable. Enoch turned his gaze inward, feeling the flutter of recognition within his spirit. Is there a truth yet to be unveiled? He mused silently. The question lingered like the scent of jasmine wafting through the night, sweet yet elusive. The elder's voice broke through his reverie once more, resonating with a wisdom forged over years of toil and contemplation. We speak of love and loss, but what of the prophecy that lies beyond our understanding? Our lives are but breaths in the face of eternity. Could we be but players in a divine play, guiding us towards something greater? Enoch's heart raced at the thought. What if our struggles are threads in a larger work of creation? Each lament, each jubilant moment holds a story yet to be fully written. He gazed into the eyes of the villagers, seeing reflections of his own wonder and fear mirrored back at him. How do we, the dreamers of this community, awaken the slumbering spirit within our narrative? Are we not meant to gather our broken pieces and discover what they might birth? The fisherman, emboldened by the warmth of the gathering, spoke again. We set sail through storms, each one invoking the sea's power to reshape us. But in every tempest, have we not also found the stillness of the eye? If we cast our nets wider than our fears, could we not catch the very essence of that prophecy, the expansive embrace of life that remains even when storms rage? A murmur swept through the crowd, especially among the weary souls whose faces bore the marks of doubt. Enoch felt their collective pulse, a yearning propelled by their stories and weighed down by silence. A child, no more than 7, finally broke the spell of quiet. But what if we're wrong? What if love is just pain dressed in bright colors? Can darkness really be a part of the light? Her innocent query struck like a bolt of lightning, illuminating paths and possibilities that held the essence of their fears. Enoch knelt beside her, a connection blossoming. Ah, dear child, and what if it is in these doubts that the universe spills forth its greatest blessings? For the flowers that bloom are those that embrace both sunlight and shadow. Might we not share our fears, examine them, and cherish their lessons as stepping stones to understanding? The villagers leaned toward this exchange, curiosity shimmering in their eyes. The child's vulnerability ignited a spark of reflection. Was fear merely an invitation to dive deeper into the ocean of faith? Would embracing uncertainty act as a bridge toward uncovering the treasures of the heart? At that moment, a soft breeze rustled the leaves above, and every head turned skyward as the stars seemed to twinkle in reply. Enoch wondered if perhaps their uncertainty was a dance with the divine, an engagement with destiny waiting to unveil its mysteries. As he rose, a silent agreement hummed among them, a willingness to untangle the knots of their collective story, to lean into the unfolding prophecy with courage rather than trepidation. Could it be that, like a grand puzzle, each piece shaped by their trials fitted together to reveal a greater tapestry, radiant with the essence of their shared existence? With anticipation warming the night, Enoch posed a final question to the gathered souls, inviting their hearts to bear witness to the unspoken truth lingering on the lips of the heavens. If love is the answer, then what is the question we must dare to ask? Can we embrace the unknown, knowing it is in the depths of mystery that our souls are called to awaken? The flames flickered, the stars hummed, and together they sat with their unanswered questions, the edges of their stories still fraying but now rich with the promise of transformation. What transformations awaited them in the hearts of one another, and in the shadows cloaked within the stars above? As the hush of night deepened and the stars shimmered high above, Enoch felt a stir in his spirit. He glanced around at the villagers, each face illuminated by the dancing flames, yet marked by the burden of unfulfilled hopes. It seemed as if the air had thickened with a presence unseen, pressing gently against the fabric of their gathering. In that moment, a figure emerged from the shadow cast by a nearby olive tree. It was a woman, her stature humble yet edged with an undeniable strength. Her eyes held stories deeper than any night could contain, and as she stepped forward, the tension in the air shifted, coalescing into a profound curiosity. Enoch sensed that she was a bearer of something significant, a truth wrapped in enigma. "Peace be upon you," she began, her voice resonant like distant thunder. "I come not to disrupt your gathering but to offer a glimpse into the prophecy that threads through the fabric of your lives." Gasps escaped like whispers from the crowd, and Enoch felt a pulse of hope rise within him. "What do you know of this prophecy?" he asked, stepping forward with an open heart. "Is it a message of joy or warning?" The woman paused, her gaze drifting momentarily toward the heavens. "It is both wrapped in one, as light cannot exist without shadow. The ancients spoke of a time when the heavens would reveal the hidden paths of your hearts. Among you, there is a seed of divine knowledge, a promise waiting to unfold when you are ready to embrace the depths of your fear and your love." A murmur rippled through the villagers, awe mingled with confusion. Enoch sensed their collective anticipation, each soul yearning for clarity amidst the ambiguity. "What must we do to awaken this promise?" he inquired, his voice steady despite the whirlwind of emotions swirling inside him. "First, you must face what holds you back. The very fears that shackle your spirits are the gates through which your greatest triumphs may emerge. You must collect the whispers of your histories and attend to the shadows within," she answered, her tone echoing the wisdom of the past while sowing hope for the future. As Enoch absorbed her words, he was struck by the weight of her invitation. What if their struggles were indeed the very soil nourishing their growth? What visions might arise when we delve into the darkness? What might the heavens reveal? The child who had spoken earlier, her eyes now wide with a blend of fear and wonder, stepped forward once more. "What if the darkness is afraid of us too?" she asked, voicing a question that lingered in many hearts. The village fell silent, her innocent curiosity sparking a collective pause. The woman nodded slowly, acknowledging the child's insight. "Indeed, fear is a formidable force, yet it is entwined with the possibility of liberation. In your willingness to confront the unknown and dwell within it, you may just illuminate the path ahead. Each of you is a beacon. Together, you can carve out spaces anew in this world." As her words washed over them like a warm tide, Enoch felt a flicker of understanding igniting within. Perhaps the darkness is not merely to be feared but to be understood. If we articulate our doubts and hesitations, we may transform them into catalysts for love and connection. "Exactly," the woman replied, her excitement palpable. "For every lament has a counterpart of joy, and within every wound lies the genesis of growth. You cannot ignore one without losing the other. Together, they complete the narrative of your lives." With this revelation lingering in the night air, Enoch contemplated the message spun before them. They were on a threshold, ready to peer past the veil that shrouded their experiences in mystery. Each member of the village, with their joys and sorrows, thread through the tapestry of a greater design. Yet, despite the unfolding promise, a profound question lingered at the edge of Enoch's mind: what lies beyond the shadows, waiting for them to summon the courage to embrace it? If in the darkest spaces of their souls was the seed of prophecy, how would they nurture it to bloom into a new dawn? As the stars twinkled, he sensed the winds of change brewing on the horizon, urging them forward into the unknown, beckoning them to unlock the true potential concealed within their hearts. Beneath the sacred embrace of a starlit sky, Enoch stood resolute, transformed by the gathering and the revelations that painted each heart with the vibrancy of shared stories. The air hummed with an energy that had shifted from uncertainty to a sacred connection, a birthplace of understanding that had been long anticipated. Each soul present was a flickering flame, a beacon waiting to converge into a fire that could illuminate even the darkest corners of existence. The woman who had emerged from shadows possessed an aura that seemed to expand, threading through the very fabric of space as though woven by the hands of the divine. "Look not outside yourselves for answers, dear ones," she implored softly, her voice threading through the silence, "but turn inward where the roots of your genealogy stake their claim. Every joy you behold, every anguish that weighs relentlessly upon you, these are the very seeds needed to cultivate this prophecy." In that moment, Enoch felt the ripple of comprehension course through the crowd. Hearts that had previously worn the masks of indifference began to soften, revealing aspects of hurt, joy, and vulnerability that had been neglected for far too long. Here lay a collective truth, waiting to be acknowledged, a tapestry that spanned the universal human experience. Let your fears be the soil from which your strength grows, Enoch echoed, feeling emboldened by the presence of the woman who stood among them. Let our stories intersect like rivers, merging into a mighty ocean of love and understanding. He sensed the impatience within them, the lingering skepticism of the elder, the skepticism that had kept them shackled. Would they allow the tides of transformation to wash over them, or would they stubbornly cling to the illusions that had offered them a false sense of safety? As the night deepened, murmurs of reflection blossomed in the air. Faces turned toward one another, and many began to share truths they had long concealed. A man began to speak of the burdens of his widowhood, revealing how sorrow had shrouded his spirit in bitterness. A woman echoed a tale of regret for bad decisions made in their youth and the path that had led her far away from love. As these stories flowed, the walls that had separated them began to crumble, revealing the profound connection that lay beneath their collective suffering. One by one, the villagers uncovered their truths, cultivating an atmosphere of compassion as they gradually embraced not just their own stories, but the stories of others. Enoch could feel the lessons of the heavens begin to materialize, weaving between them as threads of shared experience and mirrored wounds. "What if," proposed the fisherman, his voice now steady like an anchor in turbulent waters, "each of us became the harvesters of our painful truths? What if we planted them in the soil of understanding, allowing them to blossom into love instead of despair?" As he spoke, the flames from their fire seemed to flicker in approval, lighting up their faces with a palpable warmth. Then, the elder, standing on the edge of doubt yet overflowing with curiosity, stepped forward, his voice a deeper resonance filled with honesty. "I have carried the weight of skepticism for so long, clinging to my fears, believing them to be wisdom. But perhaps it is love that lays the truest foundation of understanding. Enoch, what must we do to nurture this truth we have unearthed?" The challenge in his voice held more than just inquiry, it bore the weight of a heart yearning to reconcile years of preservation with a desire for connection, vulnerability. Enoch replied, his heart swelling with anticipation. "Embracing vulnerability, casting aside the chains of perfectionism and the fear of judgment, we must invite each other into our spaces of sorrow and joy. Only then can we fully illuminate the corners of our hearts. Begin from today, these moments will be sacred witnesses of your willingness to walk unguarded." At this, the villagers began to shift closer together, hands reached out for comfort, breaths mingled and shared understanding, and eyes widened with empathy. The air thickened with hope, as Enoch sensed that perhaps they were no longer separate beings, but a singular community united by their interwoven experiences. As the night deepened, beyond the veil of darkness, the woman turned her gaze back to the heavens, and a soft light enveloped her. "Dear ones, do not mistake this moment for an end, but as the beginning of a journey. The prophecy is unfolding not just in your shared words, it is an awakening, a celestial call enveloping your hearts. Embrace this spark together and let it ignite a legacy of love and understanding." Then, like a gust of wind summoned from beyond, the clouds stirred, and the first slivers of dawn began to break across the horizon, a testament of new beginnings. Enoch raised his gaze to the sky, and the villagers followed, awash in the brilliance of the emerging sun, each ray a reminder of the promise that love held within their grasp. As the world awakened around them, Enoch understood that they were now part of a narrative that transcended their individual experiences, a united force capable of defying shadows, sowing seeds of transformation where despair once flourished. "Take heart, for the journey ahead will not be without trials," he said, holding their gazes steadfast. "But where love grows, hope rises to meet every challenge. You are now the architects of your own prophecy, rewriting the course of your lives through compassion, vulnerability, and unity." With dawn rising in glorious splendor above them, Enoch felt an electric pulse, a spirit of promise coursing through them, binding their hearts and weaving their destinies. They would forge ahead into the unknown, unified in a quest for understanding, love, and connection. In this moment, beneath the wide expanse of the heavens, a new chapter began for Enoch and the villagers, one that would echo through the ages, whispering the transformative power of a love that remains steadfast, even in the shadows that lie in the depths of their newly kindled connection. Enoch understood that the true revelation was not just the prophecy itself but the undeniable truth that love, with all its complexities, held the power to break every barrier and transform every heart. It was this love, born of shared struggles and woven narratives, that would guide humanity toward greater understanding. And as they stood together, hearts intertwined amidst the canvas of dawn's light, they embraced the profound journey, a heated journey forever marked by the legacy of love ignited amidst the shadows.